One day soon the sun's gonna shine. You'll be mine until the end of time. We will soar and so fly. One day soon you and I. One day soon I wake up and find love and smile never on my mind. Warm embrace and warm embrace. It's my love one day soon. They say I pray you come back to me. Open up your loving arms. 'Cause baby you are my destiny. Give you all my warmest charms. One day soon my life's gonna change. You and I, baby, will be as one again. We will soar and so fly so high. Oh, one day soon, you and I. You say I pray you come back to me. Darling, open up your loving arms. 'Cause baby, you are my destiny. Give you all my warmest charms. Oh, one day soon my life's gonna change. You and I will be as one again. We will soar and so fly so high. Oh, one day soon, you and I. One day soon, you and I. One day soon, you and I. Hey, hey, hey.
Days would be lazy and sweetly crazy. Skies would grow hazy above. tiny little boy and his tiny little prayer. That is my daddy, so please take care. Said a tiny little boy in his tiny little prayer. For this is the night Mama turned off the light. Oh, how I wish you were here so I could kiss you goodnight. I hope in dreamland we'll meet somewhere. Said a tiny little boy in a tiny little prayer. Oh, Mom, I love you. Yes, I do. Wait for me, Mom. I'll be home real soon. I never knew how much you meant to me. Now that I'm so many miles across the sea, only God knows when and where we'll meet again. To hold you in my arms once more, to hear your voice and to see your sweet smile. Oh God, do please keep my mom. Oh God, do please keep my mom. Oh God, do please keep my mom.
Well, good morning, welcome again. We're at Po'olima Place. Thank you, Papa Ola Lokahi, for inviting us to share our music. Here's a song takes to the Big Island. Umakaka ikena ya ila Walohina ya oke Umakaka ikena ya ila Walohina oke Makele mai hau I kanuhi manu Awala mei puni vai piho Aole no e loama Ahe upai au no ke kuai He hiva hiva na kamakua Hei ai na ke kupuna Gopuna ke ai hale ia mai Noho I ka vai lele a o hila Haina ia mai ana ka puana ku makakaina o hilane. Haina ia mai ana ka puana ku makakaina o hilane, hilane, hilane. Ikamakani Aulana o kaina Hau e hohe no nei Ikamakani Kairi aloha Hupua kule Humirie Kule Aui kaweki Kahe mili mili Ahe hiva hiva Ahe lei Mauno ukino He aloha ya no ya home Ia home Ua kaha kamalihi Au ino ai aku Kamakani kaili aloha Hupua kule Humili milie Kule Aui kaweki Ahe mili mili Ahe hiva hiva na Ahe lei Mauno kukino Ahe lei Mauno kukino Oh
Hui, aloha kakahiaka, aloha mai kako. Happy morning to you. We are live, my friends. I am so excited. Day number 2. If you're joining us for the second day of this amazing event, our national debut of the Ohana Center of Excellence. We're going to get right to it. And if you're on for the very first time, get your pen and your paper out, open your mind. there's going to be a lot of sharing today and a lot of ike, a lot of knowledge, a lot of ideas, mana'o as well. So if you are joining us really quick, if we can get, we want to get you guys engaged and involved throughout the entire time. So we've got a QR code. There it is right on the screen, menti.com. Hit that code. Now, if you're joining us today, it's a different code from yesterday. So don't use that one from yesterday. Use the code for today. We want to hear from you. We want to hear your ike. We want to hear your concerns, your questions, Q&A kind of throughout the program as well, but at the end of the day as well, we'll have some more intense Q&A. So think about those questions and think about those concerns that you want to share with us. But we are here in Hawaii, and we're going to start off the way we should. Whenever we get together for, times to share knowledge and times to get together like this, of course, we remind each other that we are Ohana and we're here in Aloha. So we prove those two things. So if there's anybody in the room with you, just aloha ke kahi, aloha aku, aloha mai, handshake, high fives, hugs, do whatever you got to do. What we want to do at this time, though, we want to make sure we are all of the same breath. So I'm going to ask all of you that are joining us right now at the moment, we're going to take 3 breaths. This first breath, I want you to connect to whoever your creator is. The second breath, I want you to connect to Aina, to Honua, wherever your 2 feet are right now in this world. And the third breath, I want you to connect to Kanaka, the people around you, even virtually. As we ke kahi, sometimes we have to be modern day people and we use technology. So try as best as you can to connect. As we say in Hawaii, everything that goes into our ihu and our nose is clean, mai ka'i and pono. Things that come out of our mouth have the potential to be harmful. So, my friends, hanu, hold, connect to your creator, and ha. Hanu, hold, connect to Aina, Honua, where your 2 feet are right now. And ha. Hanu. Hold. Connect to Kanaka, the people around you. And ha. As we continue on, my friends, as we do here in Hawaii, we always make sure we start with our protocol to pay tribute to those who come before us, those who are here now, and those who will come after.
Hemu oia. Hemu na moi iru na moi ana puno hono na haumia. Hemu oia. Hemu eli. Noa ya e. Noa kohonua. Hemu oia. Hemu na moi iru na moi ana puno hono na haumia. Hemu oia. Hemu eli. Noa ya e. Noa kohonua. Hemu oia. Hemu na moi inu na moi ana puno hono na haumia. Hemu oia. Hemu eli. Noa ya e. Noa kohonua. E ho mai ka ike mai luna mai e. Ona mea huna uea. Ona mele. E ho mai. E ho mai. E ho mai e. Ho mai ka ike mai luna mai e. Ona mea huna uea. Ona mele. E ho mai. E ho mai. E ho mai e. Ho mai ka ike mai luna mai e. Ona mea huna uea. Ona mele. E ho mai. E ho mai. E ho mai e.
Koe mātamai he wani, whakamalo atu he ngahi tapuaki ko tō pē, whakamole mole ka ke tapuaki I ange ki mau tolu, ke mau nofo mo e whai ofa ofani. Pa ke mau mau ha ofa, me lino, mo e loto mau lalo, ke whai ofina ngalo. I he huafo si sukalaisi. Amen.
And that, my friends, is how we begin to share space. So if you're joining us, Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander, mahalo for being here, you folks. It's our second day. We're so excited. So much to share with you. So much we want to, it's difficult to always ask of you, but this is one of those times that we realize that it does take a village and it does take all of us to work together. So many things we want to share with you about the great work that the Ohana Center of Excellence is going to be doing. Don't forget, we want you to get engaged, so scan that code on the screen right now, or you can head over to menti.com, enter the code 8572062. One more time, 8572062. I feel like we're giving away door prizes. So go ahead and do that, my friends, and we're going to keep it on there. If you miss it, not to worry, it'll be back up on the screen. So get engaged, get involved. We want to hear your questions. We want to hear your iki. We want to hear your manao. And most importantly, we want to know where you are calling from or where you're joining us from in the world today. We always love when we get together like this. So we want to get into San Jose is joining us. Nice. Okay, so we're gonna be talking to them in a little bit, but what I want to do first is I want to introduce you to some very important people behind the Ohana Center of Excellence. So aloha to San Jose State. I know we have a few people from Oregon on right now. We got to say aloha to Imua Health Group as well. But we want to get right into introducing you to somebody very important, the Executive Director of Papa'ololokahi. As you know, Papa'ololokahi, the Native Hawaiian Health Board. So if we can, we're going to throw it right over to Dr. Sherry Daniels.
I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Papa'ololokahi, and I am humbled and privileged and excited to see and be a part of this launch of our Center of Excellence, and having opportunity to bring to the forefront opportunities to help uplift our communities, our AANHPI communities, in ways that I think many have imagined, have hoped for, and to have the opportunity to be able to do that is phenomenal. As I said, I am just a kako'o on this journey. I think it is important to not only have a leader, a navigator, but those that bring expertise, that bring passion, that bring all of those things, ike, knowledge, to the center, to the space that helps to uplift. And so I think our kuleana, our responsibility in this project is really to make sure that we bring voice to our NHPI communities, both here in Hawaii, our Pacific Islander partners and friends and cousins down in the Pacific, but also our NHPI communities across the other 49 states. I think this is a very monumentous time for us in our communities, and it's a lot of kuleana, a lot of responsibility to make sure that we do this in the way that has the best of intentions and that we execute with good pono, healthy, truthful intentions moving forward. So with that, I want to turn it over to the team at Vai, and I see John there and the other staff from Papa'ololokahi. So mahalo.
Mahalo to Dr. Sherry Daniels sharing that with us. Before we forget, a lot of people say, who's that dude? Ovaldo makanihola na ihale tabura, mokola na imayau, ahupua aka'a. My name is Makani Tabura. I'm from the island of Lanai, the Ahupua of Ka'a. I bring with me my mauna of Lanai Hale Ame Kahakai Hulupoi. So as we do, we acknowledge the land that we're from, and we acknowledge the Mo'oku Auhau, that who we are a product of. And so we want to go ahead and head over across the Pacific, because this is a team effort. It's a community effort. Community is not just within, community is far reaching. So we want to acknowledge and give the opportunity to our Ohana in California to acknowledge also their aina in their land.
Welcome, everyone. We're here in California, and I would like to read a land acknowledgement. We would like to recognize that while we gather here at California State University, East Bay, located in Hayward, California, we are gathered on the ethno-historic tribal territory of the intermarried Halkeen, Irgin, Chochenyo, Ohlone-speaking tribal group, who were the direct ancestors of some of the lineages enrolled in the Muwekma Ohlone tribe of the San Francisco Bay Area, and who were missionized into missions San Francisco, Santa Clara, and San Jose. The present-day Muwekma Ohlone tribe, with an enrolled Bureau of Indian Affairs documented membership of over 600 members, is comprised of all of the known surviving Indian lineages aboriginal to the San Francisco Bay region, who trace their ancestry through the missions San Jose, Santa Clara, and San Francisco during the advent of the Hispano-European Empire into Alta California, beginning in AD 1769. They are the successors of living members of the sovereign, historic, previously federally recognized Verona Band of Alameda County, now formerly known as the Muwekma Ohlone tribe of San Francisco Bay Area. Muwekma means la gente, the people in their traditional Chochenyo Ohlone language. The land on which CSU EB in Hayward has been established was and continues to be of great importance and significance for the Muwekma Ohlone tribal people. This region extends to surrounding areas that held several Tupintocs, also known as Temescal's, traditional semi-subterranean spiritual roundhouses. Tupintocs were places of celebration, healing, rituals, dances, intertribal feasts, and religious ceremonies. Nearby ancestral heritage shell mound sites, such as those located in Maya, Santa Sigma, Coyote Hills, Berkeley, and Emeryville, served as the Muwekma Ohlone tribe's territorial monuments and traditional cemetery sites for high lineage families, craft specialists, and fallen warriors. The region surrounding the city of Hayward and Cal State University East Bay is where many of their ancestral heritage cemetery and village sites are located. These localities are viewed as special and sacred places, and we respectfully acknowledge that they had been previously settled and owned by the ancestors of Muwekma tribal groups for many thousands of years. The location of nearby Fairmont County Hospital was the place of one of the tribe's major rancherias called the Springs during the late 1800s, where their families planted various crops and raised cattle. Today, the Muwekma Ohlone work as stewards for many of their 10,000-year-old ancestral heritage village and cemeteries. I want to also add and acknowledge the labor on which much of California was built, much of it unpaid, much of it from enslaved. And so want to acknowledge the work to build the railroads, our agricultural resources, as well as many of the infrastructure of California. Thank you.
Mahalo to our friends and our Ohana all the way down. Acknowledgement is very, very important. I encourage all of you, wherever you are in this world, to take some time to really learn of who walked the aina that you were on before you were there. So we encourage you to do that. We're going to continue on, and we're going to meet a little bit more in depth of the people behind the Ohana Center of Excellence. We want to introduce you to the Hawaii team first. So they're going to let you know who they are, their kuleana, what their ho'ulu, what their inspiration is to the Center of Excellence. So we're going to start all the way at the end. Aloha.
Malolele, kuingoa ko atalipati, ko hau me kahuku, ko ku tamai, ko hau me ngele ia tonga, ko whae, ko hau me halafuli vavau. Whiwhilahi whangamale ko ni ko mau ke be a part of this Ohana Center of Excellence. I just introduced myself. My name is Latalina Pasi, and my parents are from Tonga and Bava'u, and I was born and raised here in Kahuku, where Iam Tongi is from. As you can see on Telly's shirt, she'll introduce herself next. So we're so proud of Iam and all that he does for our Pacific Islander community. But I just want to say that my goal and my inspiration for the Center of Excellence is to have behavioral health services that are in language and culturally appropriate for Tongan and all Pacific Islanders. Malo.
Malo le soifua o lo ingoa o Chantal e seta matangi. O ainga o matangi mai le ala whanga o pangopango ma salanoa o kula. O te sau mai, Utah, ma Hawaii, ma Samoa. And also Kahuku. Yes, Ian. Yes. All right. So just had to add that in. I just introduced myself. My name is Chantel Eseta Matangi. Everyone calls me Tally. My family is from Pago and Tula in American Samoa. And my role here is a community connector. So my hope is, much like we learned during COVID, to provide better engagement and resources for Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders worldwide. We should not hide those things that we have been given or that we have created, but instead we should act in a way that is indicative of our Pacific values, and that is to share what we have, so that way those who are suffering are able to find those much needed resources in a language that is meaningful to them, but also that creates engagement.
Aloha mai kako o Lilinoi ko hikawa ko inoa no pi'i honua hilo mai au ma ka moku o ke ave o maunawa ke aku mauna o ai luku ku uwai ea ko mau kumu loa ke ole I ka halawa wola. So my name is Lilinoi ko hikawa. I am from pi'i honua hilo on Hawaii Island. And my sources that I brought into this space in my introduction, I bring with me everywhere. My mountain source, Mauna Kea, and my water source, that the Wailuku River, which keeps me grounded and comes with me everywhere I am. It keeps me connected to my sacred space of Hawaii. I am a program coordinator with Papa'olalokahi, the Native Hawaiian Health Board. I focus on substance use and mental health projects. I am also the project coordinator for this Ohana Center of Excellence for behavioral health. And a lot of my passion for this work comes from my own lived experience with struggling with substance use and mental health for most of my life. And for a good chunk of my life, I also lived on the continent. So I grew up for a very long time as a Kanaka of the diaspora. And so my hope really through this project is to create culturally responsive, culturally resonant behavioral health pathways of healing for our Kanaka in Hawaii, our Kanaka across the continent, our Kanaka and our extended Pacific Islander Ohana. And so really excited to be a part of this, to be able to connect these healing pathways alongside so many amazing humans on both sides of me and across the ocean. So I'll pass it to John.
Aloha, my name is John Oliver, and I'm with the State of Hawaii Department of Health, and I'm honored to be here today as the project director for the Asian American Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Ohana Center of Excellence. And I am just thrilled to have such a wonderful team with me here, as that goes for Papa'olalokahi, as well as in California with San Jose State University and California State University East Bay, and also for the support of SAMHSA over in Washington, D.C. So for all of you tuned in today, I welcome you on this journey that we're beginning here on day 2 of the launch of the Asian American Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Ohana Center of Excellence. And mahalo.
So a round of applause wherever you folks are. Pa'i pa'i lima for the Hawaii team. Behind the knowledge and the ideas behind the Center of Excellence. And really quick, John, mahalo for the lychee. I didn't have to go find some roadside and go wait in line with 100 cars right from his own yard. So we want to continue on as we meet our Hawaii team. As we say, our community is not just within a small area. It's huge. Think of He'e and the tentacles far-reaching. And we want to reach out to our Ohana and our team in California. They're at San Jose State University right now, also Cal State University in East Bay. So aloha to our friends. We'd like to hear from you as well. Introduce yourselves and let us know your kuleana and responsibility to this project.
Aloha. Greetings from CSU East Bay. My name is Kathleen Wong Lau, and I am a second-generation Chinese American, the child of 2 Cantonese immigrants from Hong Kong in the 1960s. I'm someone who grew up in a working-class, multiracial neighborhood in Oakland, East Bay area, and I'm somebody who I grew up speaking Cantonese and learned English in the public schools. At first, not very well. I struggled in early childhood. But I wanted to share that, I'm the University Diversity Officer here at CSU East Bay, and I was a Chief Diversity Officer over at San Jose State University. I also used to run NCORE, the the National Conference on Race and Ethnicity in Higher Ed. And before that, I was a faculty member, also helped found Asian Pacific American Studies at Arizona State University. Just in terms of my professional background took me to live in Arizona, Michigan, and Oklahoma. And the most important thing I learned that motivates me in a lot of this project is that I learned that Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders have very disparate formations and community and senses of political power in different regions and parts of the United States. And so community can mean something very different depending on where you live and what the history of that area is, especially with the specific ethnic groups that settle there. So when I had the opportunity to join this project and to help write this grant, it was really important to me to make these important distinctions about different regions and how people experience things. Secondarily, my ethnic studies background really made it important for me to make sure that we're doing decolonial work so that we as Asian Americanists are really decolonizing our relationship with the folks who are on the team, but also in the resources and our understanding, cultural understanding. So it's really important to do that decolonial work. And then secondly, it's disaggregation. Again, as I mentioned, it's important to know who's in your region, what the settlement patterns are, and then what are the systemic inequities that have produced some of the inequities that we find in behavioral health today. So that's my motivation, and I'm going to hand it over to other members of our team here in California.
All right, aloha kakahiaka, magandang umaga to all of you in Hawaii, magandang tanghali for all of us that are here in California. My name is Dr. Lester Papa. I'm a second-year assistant professor at San Jose State University in the Department of Psychology. I am the proud firstborn son of two Filipinx immigrants. My mother is from the Ilocos region of the Philippines. My father is from the Bicol region of the Philippines. Both of them met on the island of Kauai, where I call home, and raised me and my two younger siblings there. And so while I was growing up, my parents were very, very clear on their values of education. And so it is something that I had valued as well, and unfortunately learned that is not something that everyone has access to. And so I wanted to use my education to make sure everyone would have equitable access to education. And along that route, found myself pulled to providing mental health services for children, adolescents, and their families to help empower them from the things that would get in the ways of barriers of things like education, which we know is one of the primary tools for social capital and getting the opportunities needed to be able to help uplift yourself from very hard places. So I'm very, very honored to be able to bring a lot of my experience and skills from the US continent, deliver it straight back home into communities across the continental US. And with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Rondilia.
Kumusta, half a day, and hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Joanne Rondilia, and I am the daughter of immigrants from the Philippines. My mother is from San Pablo City, and my father actually has two homes, Lucena as well as Caloocan. And both of them ended up settling in the island of Guam, and that is where I was born and raised. And eventually we moved to California. I would like to take a moment to share, to send some love and some prayers of safety to the people of Guam who are braving Super Typhoon Mawar. So much love and safety to all of you. I'm an assistant professor at San Jose State University, and I am honored to serve as a team member on this historic project. As a child, someone important to me suffered from depression and eventually took their life. And there was so much silence and shame surrounding this person's passing that it felt like this person was this major part of my life one day and then completely forgotten the next. And so this taught me the importance of communities and families having accessible resources to understand trauma and mental health issues such as depression, bipolar disorder, and substance use. It is also vital that we come together to develop a culture of empathy and supportive practices, because this is, I believe, the key to our healing. Like many of you, I experienced how the pandemic impacted everyone's mental health needs, from our elders to small children to college students whom I spend so much time with. And it is in that spirit that I am honored to help develop the Ohana Center of Excellence for all of our communities. Thank you.
Okay. So I can go next. Okay, so hello everyone. This is Dr. Mi-kyung Han. I'm a professor at the School of Social Work at San Jose State University. Originally from South Korea, I came to this country to pursue the higher education in social work as an international graduate student. After receiving my doctoral degree, I joined San Jose State University, where I had been working ever since as a first-generation immigrant. So my area of interest has been centered around mental health issues, family violence, including child maltreatment, and impact of trauma, with a specific focus on Asian Americans. In recent years, I had been working closely and collaboratively with stakeholders and community-based organizations to combat mental health stigma, improve services for family caregivers of people with serious mental illnesses, and offer the culturally tailored behavioral health intervention and prevention programs. So through my work, I have noticed the significant gap between the need and then culturally and linguistically competent behavioral health services and resources for Asian Americans. So therefore, I am very honored to be part of Ohana Center of Excellence. So through my work with Ohana Center of Excellence, I am dedicated to filling the gap and advancing the behavioral health and well-being of Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islanders. Thank you.
Say mahalo to our California team working all the way across the Pacific. And that's what it's all about, working together. Now, I got to tell you guys, this team is amazing, whether in Hawaii or California. We want you to get engaged. If you have any questions for them throughout the day or throughout this program, go ahead and get on the menti.com QR code. If you see it on the screen, go ahead and screenshot that. If you are asking questions and getting engaged during chat, we will get to them. I see like 100 chats going on, and Napua is over there moving as fast as her 10 fingers can. So give us some time. We'll get to your questions. But most importantly, enter the code 8572062, menti.com, if you want to get engaged that way. I want to continue to share with you and introduce to you some amazing people with the team, with the Ohana Center of Excellence. So let's throw it over. We're going to meet and introduce Dr. Kyung-Mi Choi and Dr. Ni Zhang. My friends, there we go. The national debut of the Ohana Center of Excellence. We're meeting our team right now. We're going to get right to a little bit of technical difficulties, but not to worry. We're going to introduce you to these two people shortly, but menti.com again. If you want to find out a little bit more about what they've been working on and the future of the Center of Excellence, the website, AANHPI-ohana.org. Once again, my friends, we introduce you to Dr. Kyung-Mi Choi and Dr. Ni Zhang.
제 이름은 최경미입니다. 저는 한국에서 태어나서 자랐고 미국에는 22년 전에 오게 되었습니다. 현재 산호세 주립대학에서 상담학 석사 과정을 가르치고 있습니다. Hello, my name is Kyung-mi Choi, a professor in counselor education at San Jose State University in California. Originally from South Korea, I moved to New York State about 22 years ago. Within my role, I serve as a steering committee facilitator and program specialist. Drawing upon my academic background and personal experiences in mental health programs and services, I'm thrilled to collaborate with this exceptional team of individuals from diverse cultural and linguistic backgrounds, each with their unique expertise. My primary responsibility involves close collaboration with the community organizations and mental health services in the Northeast region of the US. My areas of expertise includes training and educational mental health professionals, designing curriculum and programs focused on social and emotional learning and self-care, addressing the needs of LGBTQI+ populations, and promoting intercultural understanding. My goal for Ohana Center of Excellence is to identify the mental health needs and provide culturally empowering resources for Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities. I look forward to connecting with all of you through our workshops and programs over the next 5 years.
Hello, everybody. 大家好. My name is Zhang Yi. We say the first name last and last name first in Chinese, so people call me Zhang Yi in China. I was born and raised in China, and in 2007, I came here to the United States by myself to pursue my PhD and MPH degree in community and behavioral health with a subtrack of health communication here. Witnessing the substance abuse and mental health issues in my family and my close communities, I'm dedicated to prevention as well as providing resources for treatment for Asian AANHPI communities. And the first job out of my PhD program, I work at Asian Health Coalition, a community-based organization to prevent substance abuse among Chinese youth in Chicago, Chinatown. And at that time, I served as a program coordinator, so I got to see the practical sides of how things can be done. I post flyers at the bus stop, so I really enjoy the experience of applying the knowledge and really make a difference and help my community in real life. And so that's why today is my great honor and pleasure to join the Ohana Center of Excellence, so we can serve our communities and decrease health disparities and to promote health equity for mental health and behavioral health services among AA and HPI communities. And I believe together we can empower our communities and we'll be stronger together. Thank you, everybody.
Mahalo, my friends. If you are joining us, welcome back. This is the AANHPI, Ohana Center of Excellence, our national debut, second day. So much we wanted to share with you. It took us 2 days. That's why, and we also wanted to make sure that wherever you are in the world, that you had a chance to get engaged with us. So as you can tell, our Hawaii team, our California team, the passion they have in what they do is not just their work, it's their passion to take care of our community. So not only them, but that's our team, but we want you to get involved as well. So hit your provider, even if you are just Ohana. And we all know somebody that may have these piliki or these ma'i, and we want to help them out. So we want to hear from you, your questions and your concerns, and even your iki and mana'o, your knowledge. What we also now want to do is we want to kind of transition, and one of our greatest supporters is SAMHSA, Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Association. So we want to hear from their Deputy Director from the Office of Behavioral Health Equity. We're going to throw it over to Tenley Biggs.
Thank you. And good afternoon from Washington, D.C. I will say though, Los Angeles, California, specifically Alhambra and Monterey Park, California, are home for my family, originally from China and Hong Kong. And I also love all the, just love traveling. So very excited to be here. Thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and start. Greetings, kia ora, kia orana, talofa lava, malo elele, paka alofa niue, bolavanaka, takalota lohani, aloha, kamusta, leahoma, nihama, anya aseo, konnichiwa, xin chao, sawati, namaste. Hello, I'm going to stop there. Those were my best attempts to say hello to everyone. Please forgive me for not saying the greetings perfectly or in all of the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander languages, but I wanted to acknowledge how important it is to SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, that we include and serve all of our populations, including the Pacific Islands, Hawaii, and the rest of the 50 states, territories, and jurisdictions that make up the United States. It is my great pleasure to be here, albeit virtually, to launch the first Center of Excellence in Behavioral Health for Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders, also known as the AANHPI Ohana Center of Excellence. The diversity and cultural richness of the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander diaspora and communities are incorporated in the work of this AANHPI Ohana Center of Excellence. In order to be effective, it is important to work with the community leaders, community members, local, county, and state level systems, and of course, behavioral health care and healthcare providers to create positive behavioral health outcomes within the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities. SAMHSA's National Survey on Drug Use and Health, or NSDA, recently released its 2021 data. It showed that among Asian people aged 12 and older, 5.3 million, or 32% of the population, used alcohol in the past month. And out of that 5.3 million, 1.8 million, or 33.4%, were considered heavy alcohol users. And out of that, 18.1% of this group binged alcohol. Among Native Hawaiian and other Pacific Islanders, 318,000, or 31% of the population, used alcohol in the past month. And out of that number, 57,000 were considered heavy drinkers in the past month. When we look at mental health and mental illness for Asian adults 18 and older, the prevalence of mental illness was highest among the ages of 18 to 24 for having any mental illness and serious mental illness. Among Native Hawaiian and other Pacific Islanders, 2 in 11 adults had any mental illness within the past year. When we look at past year serious thoughts of suicide, suicide plans, or suicide attempts, many Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islander adolescents did not want to answer any questions about suicide, which suggests that some of these adolescents could have had these thoughts, but did not feel comfortable disclosing that information. Many of you already may be familiar with this data and are working in this field, or you may be a person with lived experience in recovery, or you have a family member, a friend, or a loved one who may be experiencing behavioral health problems. Our hope and goal with establishing the Center of Excellence is to advance the behavioral health equity of Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities. This center will develop and disseminate culturally informed, evidence-based behavioral health information and provide technical assistance and training on issues related to addressing behavioral health disparities in our communities. The Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Ohana Center of Excellence will serve as a resource to behavioral health providers, community-based and faith-based organizations, research institutions, federal entities, and of course, family members and loved ones. We hope and expect that this program will help reduce the impact of behavioral health-related disparities on Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities. At the heart of all that you do, family is really at the center, and we want to incorporate Ohana in the work as we continue to help our communities address stigma, access to culturally responsive and appropriate behavioral health services, and to heal from the trauma and grow in resiliency, health, and wellness. Again, I want to congratulate the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Ohana Center of Excellence, and I look forward to the incredible work that's being done. Congratulations, thank you, and mahalo.
Honey, I'm that guy. I just became that guy. Hello, can't hear you, can't hear you. Ever been on a Zoom? Can't hear you. That's me. I'm that guy. Turn on my microphone. If you are joining us, Ohana Center of Excellence, mahalo to Tendy Biggs, all the way out in Washington, D.C. I'm so excited when the world gets together. Our people, D.C., California, Hawaii, all over. We got some people from Oregon calling in. Now, we want to really get into an overview and what to expect and what the Center of Excellence has been doing and how it's going to help you and how you can help us. Before we get into that, we do have our first question this morning, and I want to go over that. So again, if you have any questions, you can hit up the chat on Zoom, but mind you, there's Napul, one person trying to coordinate and moderate 100 questions, but we do have menti.com right there on the screen, snapshot that QR code, and you can get engaged there. So the question this morning, what regions will receive the center's support? What is SAMHSA's responsibility with the Center of Excellence? Let's ask that question one more time. What regions will receive the center's support? What is SAMHSA's responsibility with this Center of Excellence? Now, I wanted to read that question first because the answer may be coming up with these next two people I would like to introduce you to. They're going to go ahead and introduce you to. I just put them on the spot, but I'm pretty sure they're going to answer this question. So, and that's how we do. So I want to introduce you to the Center of Excellence Community Navigators, Atalina Pasi and Telly Matangi.
We'll pass it back to you. Okay. No,
I know you guys will, because every time I talk to you guys, it's like, even if I don't have a question, you have an answer for me. I'm like, I didn't even.
Right. All right. So we'll just give an overview. So as far as regions, we are throughout the United States, continental and Hawaii, as well as the US API. So that just means those Pacific islands that are associated with the US, either through the Compact of Free Association, or they are territories, or in the case of the Northern Marianas, a Commonwealth. So we will be everywhere. Everywhere you go, that's where we'll be. And of course, that is not limited to, but what I want to make sure that people understand is if you're not associated with the U.S., that does not mean that you cannot come on our page. We expect everyone worldwide, because we know Native Hawaiians, Pacific Islanders, Asian Americans, we're everywhere. And so we want to make sure that those resources, no matter where you are accessible to you. Which brings us to, how is this project different than other AANHPI projects? And I think what I want to start with is, and we brought this up yesterday, we're at a picnic, or we're having a barbecue, and we've invited all of you to attend. And sadly, we don't have the food in order to feed you. So what we're asking you to do is we're asking you to trust us. We're asking you to come to this barbecue and to bring what resources you have so that they can be shared. What we learned during COVID-19 is we are woefully under-resourced, Native Hawaiians, Pacific Islanders, wherever you may be. And we had to create it. And creating that cost a lot of money. So how do we bring together all of these resources? That means asking you to trust us, to act in a Pacific way, to protect the information that you're giving to us, and to make sure that it's getting to those people who need it the most. As I think about my own family and where they are throughout the world, I want to make sure that their parents, who speak English as a second language and speak Samoan as their first, whatever they're going through, be it depression, addiction, whatever, depression, that somehow they're able to find something that speaks to them. I am reminded of COVID-19 and how alone we felt. And I am reminded of the first webinar that we did that was in Marshallese. It was scheduled for an hour, and we were there 3.5 hours. And we were there 3.5 hours because we couldn't stop answering questions. And those questions were all answered in Marshallese by trusted messengers within the Marshallese community. Now think if we could take that to a bigger audience that's not just in Hawaii, but can be accessed anywhere, no matter where you are. Because we know a lot of Pacific Islanders are in the armed forces, and we know that those who are in our armed forces are often struggling. So how do they get those resources? And that's where we want to come in. We also found out yesterday, to no surprise of anyone in this room, that when we said, what are you looking for? We're looking for resources that are in language. Are you able to find those? Sadly, we are not. That doesn't mean that they're not out there. That just means that they're difficult to find. So how can we help you to, again, amplify your message? We can bring it all together at the Center of Excellence so that way, when people come and join, they can go to the site that says Pacific Islanders. They can hit on their race, whatever it is, Samoan, Tongan, Marshallese, Chukis, Yapis, Pohnpei, Niuean, whatever it is, whatever we have, it will be there and it will be available to them. The other thing is we want to be culturally appropriate. We understand that the Pacific is different and that there are many different cultures throughout. And so we want to be respectful of that, whatever that means. So it's not just enough to speak the language, although we do appreciate that. We also need to understand what are the cultural nuances. Much like how we introduced ourselves today, how we centered ourselves, we want to make sure that that's what we're doing when you come to our site, so that you see something that looks like you and that acts like you and that makes you feel at home. So I'm going to turn it over to Atalina so she can add in her part of it.
And we know there are a lot of service providers, community-based organizations that are here tuning in from near and far. We ask you to please drop your information in the chat so that we can add you to our resource list. Mahalo.
Mahalo, you two. You see, they probably answered every question you just had. And I love that. It's the fact that if what you got from that, really think about what you got from that overview of what the Center of Excellence is doing is, and talking to Telly yesterday, it's you go into the community. And I love that. It's all about you telling us what you need, and we get all together and we'll do that. So we're gonna continue on. Sitting right next to me, my new favorite lychee man. I'm gonna say that all day because I just it's almost gone. My friends from the Department of Health, our good brother John.
Mahalo, Makani. I have a few slides prepared and to talk about our AANHPI Ohana Center of Excellence Regional Steering Committee framework. So, because the behavioral health needs of Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders can vary greatly depending on where one lives within the United States or the territories or the jurisdictions, we decided to go with a regional steering committee framework that will allow us to have regional meetings to discuss what are the behavioral health needs happening in the different areas across the country. Of course, due to the size of the regions and our area that we're trying to cover, I wish we could have more regions, but we actually have 7 to begin with. So as you can see from this map, this is our initial layout of the different regions that we have today. With the steering committee, what we are trying to look for is, like as you see right here as an example, is that this is for one regional steering committee, is we will have 2 regional facilitators, and they are our Center of Excellence staff. We will have one who is familiar with Asian American communities and one familiar with Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander communities that will be there at each meeting. And for the steering committee members, what we are trying to have initially are 2 behavioral health service providers in each region and 2 community-based organizations serving that region. That could be community-based or faith-based, and 3 Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander individuals that have lived experience in mental health or substance use. And with those 3, we are really hoping to have one who identifies as being Asian American, one being Native Hawaiian, and one being Pacific Islander. And the purpose for that is that we are truly trying to have balance and representation for all 3 groups at the table. And so if you are interested as far as with joining a steering committee, and this is at least 2 for each. There can be more, of course, but we are hoping to have at least that participation. And with the regional steering committees, they will be meeting 6 times a year or every other month. And from the regional steering committees, we will have a national steering committee, which will be comprised of 3 members from each region. And our hope also is that the individuals with lived experience would be interested in representing their regions in the national steering committee so that the voice is actually with the people that it's meant to serve. So I jumped the gun there a little bit. Sorry about that. If you're interested in joining a regional steering committee, please go to our website and complete the interest form at AANHPI-ohana.org. And we are also excited about our Ohana Center of Excellence website. And this is the beginning of what we hope will become a repository of information and resources for all AANHPI communities. So as you'll see on there, you can request training and technical assistance. You can find resources for behavioral health. And you can see right here on the map, it shows as far as different ones that have been identified so far. And if you'd like your organization to be on there, please visit and you can put a request in and we'll hopefully get you on our map. In addition, we've started our resource directory, and this is a beta resource directory. So we are seeking community input to expand. And we have a starting list here in different areas as far as resources that we have available that we know of. And we certainly would like to increase this, and we are hoping to have your community input for in your regions and where you are throughout the United States. You are the best resource for what's available. So please visit us and add to this list, and so that we have contributions from all across the country, as well as the U.S. APIs and the territories of Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. And you can also join us on social media, and we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, and we are all at Ohana Center of Excellence, and at AANHPI Ohana Center of Excellence. And so with that, I'm actually going to hand it over to Kathy Wong over at California State University East Bay to tell us a little bit more about some other aspects of the Center of Excellence.
Great, thank you, John. I'm going to share very quickly some of the other types of resources we're going to provide. We will be doing quarterly environmental scans through our regional steering committees, as well as our analysis of the different trends that are going on, as well as any sorts of issues that we think we need to bring to our steering committees as well, so that we can make sure that we are addressing them and that our work reflects what people are feeling like is needed in their communities, as well as among professionals. So we'll be doing those community and provider assessments on a regular basis. We also have contracted with a company where we're providing language accessibility for our online seminars and meetings such as this. What we'll do is that we will ahead of time ask for people for the language that they would like to request in terms of interpretation, and they will be connected to a live interpreter during the event. We will also be able to archive each of our seminars in separate languages, separate YouTube videos for each of the languages that are requested, and even sometimes ones that maybe aren't requested that we feel need to be provided in those languages. I want to talk a little bit about, you've heard references. We're really trying very hard on our team to make sure that we are using a very important a systemic equity lens as well as framework for all of our work and everything that we do. What we want to be able to do is to make sure that we are not tokenizing those who are underrepresented in Asian American communities, as well as tokenizing Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders. We want to make sure that we aren't doing what many different organizations do, where they mention AANHPI or just AAPI, and actually there's very little substantial information and resources available for those communities. So we are making sure that we're trying to do that. The methodology we think has been very productive. We hope that this project actually sets an example for that methodology for other organizations. Thank you. And we'll head back to Hawaii.
Mahalo to our team out in California. Once again, if you're joining us, my friends, this is the Ohana Center of Excellence, day number 2. We've got so much that we want to share with you. It took us 2 days, but most importantly, we wanted to make sure that you, wherever you are in the world and whatever time zone you're in, that we wanted to make sure that you had the opportunity to join us and find out about this amazing project, not just here in the islands of Hawaii, but far-reaching, every Pacific island, every Asian community here in America. And that's what we want, my friends. So we're going to continue on, and I am so humbled and privileged to introduce you. You've heard some great speakers, and we're going to continue on that note of great speakers. Emeritus Assistant Vice Chancellor for Student Diversity and Equity at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, serves as the Commissioner on the White House Advisory for Equity. I am humbled and privileged to be sitting right next to her, Dr. Amy Agbayani, and I can't wait for you to share with us. Mahalo for being here.
Mahalo Makani. As I mentioned, my little neighbor next door has the same name. I'm really honored to be here and to learn more and hopefully work with many of you on the Ohana Center for Excellence. I'd like to give a little background of myself. I'm Filipino, born in the Philippines, and then came here to Hawaii, the ancestral land of Native Hawaiians, and to this state, which is Hawaii, which is 2/3 AANHPI. So we are the largest percentage of representation of this group. I'd like to point out that for many here in Hawaii and elsewhere, AANHPI is actually very tough to understand category, and that many of us in Hawaii and elsewhere are more familiar with and more comfortable with identifying with the subgroups that the disaggregated ethnic groups there, such as Filipino, Japanese, Okinawan, and so forth. So that is one of the goals and objectives of this project, is to make sure that we do disaggregate the data and that we pay attention to the varieties of the demographics and the issues and concerns that are quite different for some of these groups. As an aside, for the Asian American category, which Filipinos are a part of, there are over 50 countries of origin, and that the disparities between them are quite large. One of the Asian Indians, for example, have the highest income and educational attainment than every other group in the United States. And then also on the other side, also included there are Asian Americans of Cambodian or other backgrounds that have the lowest, one of the lowest. So it's a very broad group, and it's wonderful to have this Center of Excellence make sure that disaggregation works. Again, I'm very pleased to be on be one of the 25 people appointed to the President's Commission on Asian American, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders. And the other person that I work very closely with is Michelle Kwahani, who is the only Native Hawaiian on that commission. We are tasked by the President to come up with recommendations, and I don't think we're going to probably implement many of them because our term is only for a couple of years, but we do want to highlight the importance and support the programs like this program because the goals are important. And so the Commission has many 6 committees, and I'm on 2 of them, and they really overlap on many of the issues that and populations that this Center of Excellence will be addressing. I'm on the Language Access Committee, I'm also on Citizenship and Immigration Committee, and we have a committee on health equity, economic equity, and Asian American hate. So those recommendations really will be coming up with issues that are relevant to the project. I just wanted to say that I come to this work and have experience because, first of all, half a century ago, I finished my dissertation here in Hawaii, and it was on the civil rights movement, student protest behavior in the South of college students. So the civil rights lens is very, very important. It's actually the basis for a lot of the issues. The reasons that we're here today is that we want equal access. We want people not to be discriminated against. We want every person to count. And the smaller groups are oftentimes those that aren't included. Here in Hawaii, I was honored to be appointed by Governor Wahei to be the first chair of the Civil Rights Commission, and it's our task their task to enforce anti-discrimination law, and one of the areas that they will be enforcing is language access. And also in Hawaii, I'm very active at the local legislature to look at issues that mostly impact Filipino immigrants and other immigrant groups. That includes the Pacific Island COFA communities and so forth. And so we're very happy that in the last couple of years, they have developed a Filipino legislative caucus that are pushing for various issues. And our top issues, again, include and in the past session, we got a bill that dealt with language access and making sure that state websites are going to be language accessible. And then we also tried to get some money for court interpreters, which are essential for getting a fair treatment. And we also got a program for equal access for various benefits. So our state legislature is actually helping us address some of these issues for the immigrant population, basically. I would like to say that these issues are unfortunately not new. And for example, the executive order that was based on Title VI on civil rights that ensures or requires language access is over 22 years old. I think that was President Clinton that proclaimed that executive order. And we're still having problems. I think in the state of Hawaii, one of the few states, I'm not sure any other state, has a state-funded Office of Language Access. And we are providing some training and resources. And most people do not understand that it's a legal requirement for federal and state agencies to provide access, language access. And although we do understand how difficult it is for the smaller languages, but that's no excuse. We do require that they provide this support. In the state of Hawaii, the groups that have the largest limited English proficient people are actually from the Philippines, and the largest group speakers who speak Ilocano and Tagalog, and the other, but I think Micronesians are the group that actually have requested and do need a large resource for language interpreters and language translators, and that's an area that I think we really need to beef up in every community, particularly Hawaii. So as a Filipino immigrant and a researcher. I've done a number of projects, but I did want to point out that my office called Student Equity, Excellence, and Diversity at the University of Hawaii at Manoa had a 10-year or longer partnership with San Jose. We were the unit that was responsible for the Asian American Network for Cancer Awareness, Research, and Training. And San Jose was the partner university because they do have a lot of expertise and in working with various Asian American communities in some of the largest cities in mostly in the West Coast. So the partnership between everybody in this group is really very helpful because they can help bring a focus and share the resources that's needed. So again, thank you, Makani, and everybody for letting me share some thoughts.
Maraming salamat po. So Dr. Amy Agbayani, my friends. So I introduced her as Dr. Amy, but the cultural side of me wants to go, Auntie Amy Agbayani.
Thank you.
So mahalo for sharing. Thank you so much. If you're joining us, my friends, the Ohana Center of Excellence, this is what it is all about, sharing with you, making sure that we are represented, Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander. That's your hashtag. Put them all together. We want you to get engaged. Menti.com, right on the screen, if you have any questions, concerns, and we want to hear from you. If you're on the chat as well, you can do that. So many ways to get in touch with us. We will try and get to your questions on air. If not, we will get to them. There's so much people online right now. We'd like to thank you guys very much for being here. We want to throw it over now. Another one of our great friends and speakers, our Ohana, Dr. Tu Quach.
Aloha, thank you so much for having me. I'm going to just take a moment to share my screen and I'm hoping it works. I wish I was able to just talk offhand, but I kind of need my slides. So again, thank you everyone for allowing me into this very special space. And I just wanted to acknowledge the panelists before me and their moving testimonies and all that they shared. Again, my name is Tu Quach and I work at Asian Health Services. And I was asked to share a little bit about my personal story before I get into the work that I do. So I was born in Vietnam right around the time of the war, the very end of the war. So in 1975, the US, who had been there for a number of years at war, a civil war between the North and South. And so I was born in 1975, and right around that time was the fall of Saigon, where the US was pulling out, not just on Vietnam, but all the other countries that were involved. And so, this is a picture of my siblings and my mom and I was the baby in that picture. Moving forward, the journey really started with what we call the fall of Saigon in 1975, April 30th. Is often referred. And here's just a picture of the chaos that was happening as people knew that they were no longer safe to stay there. And my dad was among those. He had been a soldier trained by the CIA and offered a space to be airlifted out and to be brought to the US. But unfortunately, he couldn't take his family, my mom and my two older siblings and myself. And so right at that moment, through all the chaos and everything, he actually took that moment and turned around and walked through the crowds, and it took him days before he got back to our home. But that was a turning point for us because he wasn't lifted out. He wasn't taken out by boat. He stayed behind for several years later. And because of that, we had to escape Vietnam on a boat several years later, because if we didn't, he would have been put into the education camps and his life would have been at risk, or we may not have seen him for years and years. So in the middle of the night, my mom and dad knocked us out. I was about 4 years old, and we were on a boat for days and days without food and hardly any water. And we ended up being pulled into Indonesia as one of the refugee camps, and lived off and on in the refugee camps for about a year before we were sponsored to the US. And really, when we came to the US, we we came to San Francisco airport, and then we settled in San Jose, where there was a growing Vietnamese American community there. And I would say that if folks thought the years during the war and the years in the camps were hard, the resettlement years were quite difficult for us. We spoke no English at the time. We had no money. We relied on public assistance in every way possible. And in thinking about the trauma as well. So even in the early years, I was a child interpreter at the age of 7, 8 for my parents as we navigated the complex healthcare system, the immigration system, all of that. And this is why I decided to work at a federally qualified health center. I ended up working at Asian Health Services after graduating from college, because the patients there reminded me of my own family, particularly my parents. Many of our patients, we were founded in 1974, and many of our patients are limited English proficient. They come from all different parts of Asia. And really, our work is really about providing medical, dental, behavioral health, but also addressing the many social determinants of health that our patients face. And many of our staff, the 500 staff, actually come from the communities that we actually serve. Many of us are bilingual, trilingual, multilingual, and really multicultural to really reflect the communities that we serve. This is a picture I always like to show. It's actually one of our general meetings. We would have these meetings every few years, and we would bring about 500 of our patients to our general meeting. And there we would share with them what was the big things that were going on. It could be the Affordable Care Act was coming. It could be, public charge, which was targeting immigrants at the time. And you can see them wearing headsets, because we really believe that language was a right, and that our patients needed to have that language access, not just in their clinics, but also in getting information that would inform them to make decisions about their healthcare, about their well-being, about things that impacted their family. And so here's a great quote from our former CEO, that the measure of our success is not just about how many patients we see, but how many assert their right to healthcare. And it is the way in which we operate our health center. This is just a graph to show you the different languages that we provide. You have the larger languages, like Cantonese, Mandarin, Vietnamese, Korean, but then you get to the smaller communities, which by sheer numbers may say, oh, well, maybe it doesn't require that much staff, but it was really important for us to make sure that every community felt like they had a right to be here. And more lately, we're seeing a growing number of the Arabic community and other communities come through, and really reflecting the immigration patterns that are happening across the world. During the pandemic, and I think the other speakers shared so passionately, so much happened. And for the American community, we experienced what we like to say, we were simultaneously blamed for causing the virus, and then ignored when it came to providing resources. Much of the data did not disaggregate to show the disparities that our communities are facing. We ourselves saw the fear that was happening, that our communities went underground, not just because they were afraid of the virus, but they were afraid of being attacked. And I can tell you, these numbers we can share with you, but I can say the phone calls I got from my staff saying, this nurse got attacked while coming into clinic. This patient got pushed onto the train tracks. Those were all very real. They were happening every day in the beginning, people getting spat on. And for many ways, we would hear these things. And sometimes there was a lot of gaslighting that would happen. Hey, maybe it's crimes of opportunity. Yes, there are crimes of opportunity, but there were crimes where it was very, very racially motivated. We interviewed a number of our patients and staff who talked about, people calling them all sorts of names as this was going on. And so we started the community healing unit, where we said, hey, instead of just taking care of our patients, if anyone had some kind of violence attack on them, we would take them in, and we would provide them with trauma-informed mental health services. We would provide them with other forms of case management, resource navigation. We would just be the one-stop shop. And to date, we have provided the mental health, we have provided the linguistic and culturally competent support, but we've also offered alternative ways of healing, yoga, Tai Chi, walking groups and such for our community, art therapy. And it was really important. To date, I think we've helped about 200 individuals. And many times for our communities, it was not just the violent attacks that they were experiencing or the violence at hand, but often it would trigger past trauma from, escaping the country, about violence, about watching their own families get killed in the past. So it was really important that we really thought about that our therapists and our staff would provide that kind of support. And this last slide just shows the robust mental health programs that we have shaped. As a federally qualified health center, we provide the primary care integrated behavioral health that is co-located with our medical care. But we also have a specialty mental health unit that can provide care for the moderate to severe patients who are on that spectrum. And then we started the community healing unit because we just needed to really care for the victims of violence as well. And lastly, we recognized that there's a workforce issue. And so pipeline development was really key for us, as well as recognizing that it's not just the licensed mental health providers, but really investing in those who are lay mental health counselors who are bilingual and bicultural and can serve that community. And with that, I thank you very much for having me here.
We'd like to say mahalo to Dr. Tukwach for sharing her knowledge with us. Again, if you're joining us, Ohana Center of Excellence, we are on our second day. If you were here for 2 days, we appreciate you so much. If this is your first day, we really want you to get engaged. Hit the menti.com QR code with your camera, or you can hit on the chat. We're going to continue on, my friends, sitting right here next to me. I always get excited. That's my new word from yesterday, these two shiros. I know I'm totally hashtagging that word, but I get excited when they share. So they are the Ohana Center of Excellence Project Pacific Islander Community Navigators. And they're going to share with us a little bit of their kuleana. We're going to get to know them a little bit more and what they do for the center. Atalina Pasi and Teli Matami. Mahalo, you guys.
Thank you, Makani. So first off, we're super honored to be here today, and hopefully, sorry. Usually my voice carries. So we'll go ahead and get started with our presentation today. I have a PowerPoint. I'm going to ask these guys to start sharing it. There it is. All right. So what we want to start out with is who are Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders? And for many, this tends to be a very difficult question. But if we look at the OMB, or the Office of Management and Budget, they defined Native Hawaiians as the indigenous people, or the Kanaka Maoli. And then also we have Pacific Islanders, and Pacific Islanders are considered the indigenous people of those who inhabited the Pacific Islands. That's important to note, because what we want to make sure that we're establishing here is that Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders are actually related. We're cousins, we're relatives, we're of the same ainga, ohana, ainga, kainga, wanao, whanao. And the only reason that we've been separated is for geopolitical reasons. And that is Native Hawaiians are currently displaced from their homelands. And so we want to love, support, malama, them in their journey as they seek out sovereignty. And then, of course, we also understand, or we need to understand, that the Pacific was named by European explorers. And these explorers really had no idea about the Pacific. We know Ferdinand Magellan, who was Portuguese, he first entered the Pacific and he saw the waves calm, and so he named it the Pacific erroneously. And then also, we find out later that a European explorer, Jules Sebastian Cesar Dumont, created the 3 Pacific subregions of Melanesia, Polynesia, and Micronesia. And these regions were based on early impressions and racist pseudosciences. So Melanesia meaning dark-skinned or black Pacific, Polynesia meaning many islands, and Micronesia meaning many small islands. Next slide, please. So next we have a map of the Pacific, and this shows the 3 sub-regions. And then also you can see, as part of Polynesia, Hawaii is at the top and the Marquesas is to the far right. Thank you, guys. What we want to point out here is that when we use geopolitical terms or umbrella terms such as Micronesia, Melanesia, and Polynesia, it can hide disparities. There is no one language for Micronesia, Polynesia, or Melanesia. Next slide, please. The Pacific is not monolithic. The Pacific is diverse with many different languages, cultures, and beliefs. Next slide, please. And I'm going to turn the time over to Atalina.
Ke otua o langi, pe mo ki mo tolu kotoa I faleni. Pe mo ki mo tolu kotoa o whanongo mai I he ope. Kai ata kia te au kia whakahoko atu e ku whatongia. A well-known Tongan proverb says, "Whangota ki he katoava." The literal translation is fishing into a basket with holes. While we can have skills and curriculum to service our communities, we need to remember the basic needs, and that is culture and language. Next slide, please. Cultural humility and community engagement means meeting communities where they are, where they live, learn, work, or play in a way that is representative of their beliefs, values, languages, and cultural practices. Dr. Shionevaka expressed it perfectly when he explained, if you ask anyone what they had for lunch, they will say exactly what they had for lunch, like fish and chips. If you ask a Tongan, they will tell you that Semisi got a new car and he came to my house to pick him up, and we went to town and saw Mele, whose daughter just had a baby, and at the end of the very long story, or talanoa, they will mention, we ate fish and chips. It is those cultural nuances and understandings that are of utmost importance when engaging with Tongan as well as Pacific Islander communities. A well-known quote from South African leader Nelson Mandela goes like this: "If you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. If you talk to him in a language that goes in his language, that goes to his heart." A well-known Cook Islands proverb says, "To embrace my heritage, my language lives on." During the pandemic, I was blessed to fill a role as community health worker for Keola Mamo and partnering with amazing grassroots community-based organizations like the Hui Foundation and Hui o Ho'ula. In 2020, during the pandemic, we saw the need for food. And in the midst of the pandemic, in March of 2021, Ko'olauloa on the North Shore of Oahu experienced major flooding that destroyed homes. In the true spirit of Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander custom, neighbors, Ohana, and entire communities banded together to provide tokoni, or help, for those affected. The city and county of Honolulu and the state of Hawaii were impressed at the relief efforts that these NHPI communities were able to provide almost immediately when these emergencies arose. Next slide, please. During Mother's Day of the pandemic, we were able to reach out to Aloha Harvest, Ham and Seafood Produce, Salvation Army, Malama Meals, Alaska Airlines, who all came together and were able to provide resources for our mothers on this special day during the pandemic. As one of the focuses of the Center of Excellence is to assist communities in creating an online resource center for behavioral health services. In comparison to mental health, the work I've been blessed to do in my community is easy. Running food distributions, flood relief efforts, mobile showers for our houseless brothers and sisters is small kind. We see these issues and we know how to address them. Mental health is not so visible. It's like me, for instance, a mother that's just had my son in January. A flood of hormones, emotions, and moods. And sometimes I think to myself, what's going on? Am I going crazy? No, it's called postpartum depression. In my community, I have a classmate that sits in front of 7-Eleven asking for $1. I teach my kids that they are our brothers and sisters and need our support. But where is the support? How do we help them? This Center of Excellence may not be the total answer to the behavioral health emergency that plagues our communities, but we are trying our best and we need your help. We need your stories of what has worked in your community, cultural and in-language frameworks to share that could save a mother like me, a son like my classmate, and our entire Ohana. Malo.
Next slide, please. Sorry, guys. So there is a Samoan proverb that says, "E fofo e le alamea, le alamea." This means the remedy for the toxic sting of the crown of thorn starfish is the crown of thorn starfish itself. This can be interpreted to mean that solutions for issues affecting a community can be found within that community. Next slide, please. During the pandemic, what we learned is that diversity and inclusion in public health is important. There's a popular colloquialism that says diversity is being invited to the party, inclusion is being asked to dance. This is Team 6B. It was created during COVID-19 in order to address the needs of Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders. It was also inclusive of Filipinos, as they were the largest overly affected Asian American community in the state of Hawaii. If you look at the screen, you see 32 members of different Pacific Islander communities. And what they brought with them was their familial connections, as well as their languages, and many different cultures. Next slide, please. To improve and address the needs of individuals and build healthy communities, we must recognize and provide safe spaces for culturally appropriate engagement and language assistance for the many diverse communities we serve. This was one of the first mobile clinics for COVID, and you see here that it's held at a church. For many within the Pacific Islander community, church is a safe space. And you also see community members who spoke their languages, who look like them, and who were able to assist them through the process. This often meant holding hands, saying prayers, singing hymns that are in language, and joking around about whose family did what, to whom, and when. But all of it made it feel like it was family. It was a safe space. Next slide, please. Connecting community members with much needed resources and social services that affect well-being is important. And in the context of investigations, it reflects and supports the cultural practice of reciprocity. Reciprocity is very important to Pacific Islanders. It's a maintenance of our relationship, and it's the act of giving and receiving. It's an exchange based on generosity, dignity, and respect for all those involved. During COVID-19, we understood that our community was in need. So when we had these mobile clinics, we provided food and education, as well as we supported them through whatever event they were having, which was inclusive of Christmas, which you see here. We had a lot of Christmas gifts that we were giving out at the Palama Center in Kalihi. Next slide, please. Which brings us to centering our community. We chose to focus on no kako, na kako, which for Hawaiians means for us, by us, or for Samoans, Samoa mo Samoa. And how do we create this collective partnership that's collaborative? We engage with community organizations. We leverage existing institutional resources, and we partner with trusted experts. Okay, we can stop the slides. So what we want to add to this, and today, as I think about behavioral health, I'm reminded of Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders in our community who sadly have been affected by the loss of loved ones who have chosen too early to take their lives. And what I want to say to all of you is, you're not alone. We see you, we understand you, and we're here for you. We need to normalize living and being here and having conversations that are difficult. What we learned during COVID was get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And so what I'd like you leave with anything today, it is this. We are not being tokenized. We have an opportunity. We have a seat at the table. What we choose to do with that seat is up to us. You can choose not to participate, or you can choose to come and make the system better. That's what we did during COVID-19. We became a part of a system that didn't look like us, that didn't sound like us, and that didn't really want us there. But through our engagement, through our wisdom, our mana'o, our tofa, we were able to create a system that addressed the health disparities that were screaming at us and that were claiming the lives of too many Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders. So I just wanted to share that with you guys today, but also I'm going to turn the time back to Atalina so she can share any of additional thoughts.
Malelele, just like Tali, in our communities, and just recently, we've had many important members of our Ohana that have passed and leaving their loved ones behind, and their loved ones are asking, like, why didn't I reach out? Why didn't I check up on this loved one? Mental health is, you can't see it. It's not obvious. It's something that we have to be aware of. When you ask somebody how they're doing, sit there, listen, look at their body language. Is anything different about them? Share how their day went. Talk to them, make conversation. Sometimes they just need someone to be there with them. And if you can be that listening ear, that shoulder to lean on, that could mean the world to someone that feels like they can't breathe, like they can't sleep at night. And it's so important for us to share our aloha, our alofa, our ofa with our family members and our loved ones, our friends, and those that we hold dear, because we never know what they're going through behind closed doors. So, mahalo Vito.
Mahalo, 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 you guys for sharing. You got to take a second, because whenever we get together with them, I mean, you can feel the passion, you can feel the emotion, and that's what it's all about. Our Pacific Islander Ohana, it's all about community, as you guys know, and even to add this in there, because everybody's on this. Iam Tongi, even that, he's brought people together, and this is what it's all about. So if you are joining us, the Center of Excellence, we want you to get engaged. We want you to share your ike and mana'o, your knowledge and your ideas and your thoughts with us. We need to create this resource. We want to be the resource, but we need you. We need your kokua and your kako'o. Before we continue on, we got one question. I know there's a lot of questions going on right now, but we're trying to get to them as quick as we can. But I got to say a huge mahalo to the students that are online right now. So we have a student that asked in the chat, as a student, I realize how important equal access is. However, I also know the world is changing and the English language is being taught everywhere globally. There are so many bilingual people these days outside the US. Has any organizations ever done some kind of assessment as to how many people universally speak English? So I kind of throw that out to the Lahui and to everybody in an earshot of us. That question is, again, has any organization ever done an assessment as to how many people universally speak English? Of course, culture and language, very important. That's why we're here. So that question is put out there. We're going to continue on. So really quick, when I'm not hosting this event, my kuleana, well, let me say this. My job is to show up somewhere at a certain time. My kuleana, I am at Waianae Coast Comprehensive Health Center. I am a cultural practitioner in health, wellness, and healing, the director of cultural activities and practices in two specific clinics, Ho'oku'ola Pain Management and Malama Recovery Services. So that is basically what I do when I'm not in this frame. But I want to bring to sit next to me. First of all, I got to mahalo you for letting me be a part of this. The project manager of this entire Center of Excellence, Lily Noi. Mahalo for being here.
Mahalo you.
And so I just got to say, I thought I was just going to, do the transitions. And Lily says, no, you're talking with me about what you do. So let's go. Let's do this.
yeah, no, mahalo makani for guiding us on this journey of this launch event, really. I mean, I don't think we could have picked a more perfect person to help us along this journey. So yeah, we're gonna kind of share this space. We're gonna talk about our Kanaka Maoli, our Native Hawaiian communities, and have some slides, but we're also kind of just gonna vala out, right? We're just gonna talk story a little bit with you folks. I want to give you a little bit of background also on our organization, Papolalokahi, for anyone that may not be familiar. Papolalokahi is the Native Hawaiian Health Board. We were developed to oversee the Native Hawaiian Healthcare Improvement Act, which was originally passed by Congress in the 80s. Our mission is to raise the health status of Native Hawaiians to the highest possible level. Next slide, please. And so this kuleana, or this mission, applies to our Kanaka Maoli, our Native Hawaiians in Hawaii, but also our Native Hawaiians that live outside of Hawaii. As you can see on the screen, more than half of our Native Hawaiian population now lives outside of Hawaii. And we'll get to this a little bit later, a little more, why our folks are living primarily outside of Hawaii due to many different factors: rising cost of living, astronomical price of housing, many, many things. So next slide, please. And then so we also oversee the 5 Native Hawaiian healthcare systems, and they provide our direct services across Hawaii. We also have a Native Hawaiian Health Scholarship Program. And so when we kind of talk about this area of health, it's kind of stuck on the Papolalokahi slide. Mahalo. And then you can actually go to the next slide. Awesome. So whenever we kind of talk about our populations, we like to root ourselves, anchor ourselves in our culture, in our aina. Our people, our ancestors were voyagers. They voyaged from the Pacific Islands to here thousands of years ago, following celestial bodies. Prior to colonization, our people were self-reliant, self-governing, thriving, family-oriented. We had complex systems of resource management, like you can see on the screen here, like the Ahupua'a system, which reached from the mountain to the sea. And what's important about the Ahupua'a system I want to mention is it's Ohana, right? It perfectly shows us Ohana. Within these Ahupua'a system, we had whole Ohanas, whole families, but not just immediate family, it's extended family. Everyone living within these spaces, all connected to each other. Each one had a function to care for the land, which in caring for the land in turn cared for us. And so this system is really important to our people. When the land thrives, we all thrive, right?
It's important to add that as Native Hawaiians, we're connected to our land. We're connected to, so when there's a disconnect, and I find that in a lot of my clients, that there's a disconnect of land. And once you disconnect from land, you start to disconnect slowly from Ohana. And once you start to disconnect from Ohana, then you find that person that now reverts, becomes introverted, and they're so disconnected that we need to use our land. You hear a lot of talk about a land back and this and that. And it's not just because we want to put a house on it. It's because our answers are in the land to our mental health and everything about it. So Ahupua'a, like you said, is very, very important. But if you're disconnected from that, that's when Pilikia and Ma'i start to kick in.
Yep, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Next slide, please. So just a little background on the Hawaiian worldview. Hawaiian worldview is really centered in lokahi, this balance, right? So balance between our kanaka, our people, aina, our land, and akua, our pili'uhane, our spirituality. And so with the influence of Western, with Western influence and colonization, this shifted the paradigms of our family systems, which again then layered on historical, intergenerational, and cultural traumas, which then in turn led to an increase in health disparities for our folks. Next slide, please. So when we look to what we can do to achieve our mauliola, or our optimal health, my go-to always is this social and cultural determinants of health model by Dr. Keawe Koholokula. So it shows these conditions, so the social determinants, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, the conditions and conditions in the environment where people are born, live, work, and how all of that has an influence on folks' health. But what's added to this is really the important aspect of culture, which is crucial to achieving mauleola or optimal health for Kanaka Maoli, for Native Hawaiians. So this includes traditional healing practices, indigenous ways of knowing, doing, being, cultural perceptions of self, and other cultural complexities. And often these haven't really been taken into account in the design of programs and services that are aimed at changing the health behaviors and improving health outcomes for indigenous communities. Next slide, please. So I won't talk too much about national data. I think Telly actually already kind of hit on it. One of the issues that we have when we look at national data is that it's often aggregate. So if you'll see kind of here, we're looking at mental health, substance use disorder, national data. It has an area for multiracial adults and Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders. And so again, this aggregate, it doesn't give us the whole story. Right? But when we start to break it down more on a disaggregated level, next slide, we can start to see that there's higher rates when we look at just our Native Hawaiian data. So when we disaggregate it, we can start to see a little bit more of the picture. Higher rates among our youth compared to overall U.S. rates. We have overrepresentation in state treatment services, in incarceration. This is the story that begins to emerge when we start to disaggregate our data. Next slide, please. So another kind of navigational space that we have to kind of enter into is engagement with state and federal entities. We have a complicated relationship, right? So we have to figure out a way to navigate forward. Hawaii was a recognized sovereign nation. Our kingdom was illegally overthrown, and there's no treaty of annexation, right? So the U.S. did acknowledge this in an apology on the 100th anniversary of the overthrow in 1993 with Public Law 103150. And then I think another important thing to note and how this impacts Native Hawaiians across both in Hawaii as well as the continental U.S., we are also not a federally recognized tribe. And so this impacts grants that we qualify for and other things like that. Next slide, please. So how do we move forward, right? So a quick snapshot of some recent work, and I want to read the quote at the top. We move forward through our iki kupuna, or the knowledge that comes from the wisdom of our ancestors. So Native Hawaiians look to the past when we're determining visions. We incorporate the past, present, and future to convey who we are, our sense of place, where we come from, and what is our kuleana, our responsibility and our privilege. And when we fulfill that kuleana, we will be well. And so this really helps us, especially when we're visioning. We want to carry on the vision of our ancestors. Did you want to add to that?
I think one of the things that are really important to this is I've been fortunate to be a cultural practitioner in healing, working in a Western clinic. What we have to do is like what we're doing. If you're a provider in the Western methods of medicine or healing, find somebody in the community that is a cultural healer, and vice versa. I went to every clinic and said, what do you think about healing, right? I'm one of those that I truly believe that we can work together. We just have to take that step forward. So like you're saying, is how do we move forward? And it's just that we have to, like we do, take a whole kupu and go to a clinic. If you're a healer and you say, hey, I'd like to sit down and kuka, let's talk story of how we can work together in this whole broad spectrum of health, wellness, and healing. So I just wanted to add that. So I encourage, if you're a provider, if you're a traditional healer, is to find those that you can work with.
Mahalo, yeah. Agreed. Next slide. Yeah, so one of the ways, in addition to our healers coming into communities, is we again return to our ahupua'a system, right? Our ahupua'a, which are very important in the health and well-being of our people, because the health and well-being of our people is directly connected to the health and well-being of the land. So I'm not going to go too deep into this model. We have this. It's actually on our Papololokahi website as well, and you can take a look if you would like. But Healing through this model requires elevating Native Hawaiian ways of knowing and being, which are strongly connected to holism, spirituality, and the natural environment. So our Hawaiian communities are rooted in collective health and a foundation of aloha. Aloha is a way of being, aloha is a way of knowing, aloha is a foundational concept for interacting with one another, as well as the world around us. So a lot of Western models often focus on behavioral risks rather than examining the systemic changes required to support people on their healing journey. But a Hawaiian approach really requires us to address the systemic inequities and racism that have caused harm within our communities. Historical and ongoing colonialism, racism, intergenerational trauma, and barriers to accessing healthcare and social services are some of the root causes of substance use and addiction. And so this Aina-based model of the ahupua'a provides this metaphorical and living, these are very much alive and living in Hawaii, living model to view the ongoing impacts of colonization, historical trauma, and other risk factors on Native peoples. And also provides a resonant model of a Native system that's grounded in this, again, this balance, right? This reciprocal relationship of kanaka, of people to land and spirituality, and in order to achieve collective healing. So through this model, practitioners can identify the root causes of trauma, develop effective culturally informed interventions to engage in collective healing from trauma, and celebrate resiliency outcomes. So I want to also acknowledge that this model draws from the social and cultural determinants of health model from Dr. Kaholo Kula, as well as the healing forest model from White Bison, who we were very, very grateful for helping us to develop this model. And I also want to acknowledge our incredible artist, Kimo Paka, who brought this model to life for us. Next slide, mahalo. And I'm just going to quickly kind of go through these to show the community engagement that we do. And this community engagement was in Hawaii, of course, but it's something that we want to bring into our Kanaka communities across the continent and talk, right? Like, as Telly and Atalina shared quite a bit, it's about this engagement with the community. It's about listening to community. So part of this, what we have started to do is do these listening sessions within our community, because the diversity and the experiences, the unique needs, the demographics, all the things are very different, even within different communities on the same island even. And so imagine, that diversity, those unique needs, when we stretch that to our Kanaka communities that have been displaced from their homelands, that are living far away on the continent, those are gonna be very different, and something that we need to really make sure that we provide the healing to. You wanna add to that?
It's again, I go back to how important it is to not only within Hawaii, the Pai'aina, but because we know that so much of our Kanaka Maoli are living outside of Hawaii, and we need to go and I've been fortunate enough to work with providers and doctors on the continent, and just say, if there's, like in Vegas, if there some doctors I work with there, if you have this demographic, let me just share with you. For example, let me just give you a good example. A lot of times we go to the clinic, and if you're a patient, I've got your chart, and I'm just like, oh, okay, what's going on with you? We're talking, but there's no ha being exchanged, right? And so a lot of times they don't understand. Just sit and say, hey, how was your day? Those are the important things with our Kanaka Maoli living on the continent is, even if they share, I encourage all of them. If you have a doctor, talk to them and tell them this is how you want to be treated, rather than then say this is how I'm going to treat you. So that's for again, our Kanaka living on the continent.
No, mahalo. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, I grew up for a large part of my life on the continent, and at that time I was the only Hawaiian in my school, only Hawaiian in my town. It was very isolating, and I see this project as being a way that we can really bring connection to our folks that are feeling isolated or feeling like they may be disconnected from their culture, because land being such a huge part, right?
I always say it, don't be afraid. Wherever you're living in this world, don't be afraid to tell somebody this is who you are. This is how, we have to speak. It's like my grandfather said, sometimes there's that little pebble on the top of the ahupua'a that gets disconnected from the land, and it starts to roll downhill, right? The more it's disconnected, the bigger it gets. The problems start to build up, and it rolls all the way downhill. But don't forget, when it rolls down the hill, where is it going to end up? Into the vai, into the ocean, which is healing. So no matter how far disconnected you are from land, you can always hold, you can always come back.
Yeah. And that's exactly it, right? What does this look like? What does connection to land look like if you're on the continent? Yeah, I think I'm excited. And honestly, I'm excited for this project.
and as we say, as Kanaka, a'ohe paukaike I ka halau ho'oka'i, not all knowledge is, and I think that's the beauty of the Center of Excellence, is that we realize that not all knowledge comes from one school. And so this is when we call out to you. This is when we ask you to kako'o and kokua and give us your iken manao, your knowledge and your expertise, so we can create a space, so when we do have our ohana outside of their native land, that they do have a resource, and also that others outside of our own ethnicities and race understand how to work with us.
Yes, absolutely. Can we go to the next slide? Just want to show a couple of quick slides. So as we kind of look at what we do with the data when we do collect it, when we listen to community, you can go to the next slide. When we look at that, we try to, next one. This is just some pictures from us cruising around all the islands, even the little 6-seater to Molokai,
right.
Love it, love that island. And so when we kind of look at how we incorporate this, we look at envisioning a preferred future. Then what does this look like? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? So in Hawaii, Hawaiians want to see Hawaiian cultural visibility and values across the system. However, on the continent, then again, what does this look like, right, for our kanaka of the diaspora? So this is why we want to hear from you folks, right? Please let us know. Let us know in the chat. Let us know in some of the surveys. We're going to drop in the chat a bit later. We'll also email. We want to hear from you because our community is really the expert, right? Next slide, please. So I just want to briefly share, when we look at what culturally responsive care looks like across Hawaii, across the continent, across the U.S. Associated Pacific Islands, we want to identify those detrimental differences within how care is provided, but also the strengths, right? So we look again at the strengths within our existing models we have available to us, our social and cultural determinants of health, our cultural perceptions of self, right? So oftentimes, our Western care systems preference a more individualistic model, which can be sometimes problematic for indigenous folks who are more closely. Then we understand our perception of self as more aligned with our relationship to one another, our relationships to the land, our relationships again to our spirituality and that which connects us all. And so when westernized treatment will focus on individualistic care, it doesn't account for everything else around us, and it doesn't heal the whole person. So that's one of the largest things that we definitely want to approach.
It's something I talk about a lot, and with my clients and patients in Waianae, is that when I work in the pain management clinic, I will treat this person that has physical pain. I will treat them as a whole. I will spiritually, mentally, emotionally, environmentally, and that's how we have to look at them, because we know, physiology and physicality will interact, and a lot of times we find out with the patients I work with is that their physical pain, they don't realize that it's manifested from something, spiritually disconnected, mentally disconnected. So all these things happen, and then their providers will come back to me and go, "Hey, what did you guys do?" I said, "We just talked." Right. So it's very important. I like that. That's one of the things that we have to look at, is how don't look at the person individualistically, and you have to know everything about them.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So the substance use, the mental health, that's a manifesting symptom, it's a surface symptom. We need to get deeper. We need to get to the root. We need to see how that sickness is coming into our people. We have work to do, right?
We have a lot of work to do, which is sometimes I say is very oxymoronic and ironic. It's because we love what we do, but at the same time, I hate what I do, because I don't want to have to help our people that have these modern day pilikia but we do. And that's why everybody that's involved in this Center of Excellence, I'm so excited about the future. Like you said, kawama mua, kawama hope. In order to know where we're going, we have to know where we're coming from.
Yep, exactly. Mahalo. And I think do I have another slide? What was our last slide? Okay. Actually, we'll just go ahead and wrap it up right there. So mahalo nui to all of you for joining us. What time is it? Oh, okay. So I just want to quickly acknowledge, and we will stay around for questions for about 10 minutes afterwards, but just because we're approaching the end of our session, I just want to quickly acknowledge the time in case anyone does have to leave. We are going to, can we put that slide up that has the website and our evaluations? So we're going to drop in the chat our evaluation, which is anonymous. We'd love to hear from you, see how you think we're doing. We're also going to drop in the chat a link to fill out an interest form. So for anyone that's interested in joining us on this journey, you want to jump in our va'a, our canoe, please do. We want you to. We're looking for folks interested in joining our regional steering committees. We're looking for folks interested in providing workshops, trainings, anyone who wants to apply for technical assistance as well as help us with technical assistance. We really want this to be a community-led and community-serving project. We want to build these relationships with our behavioral health providers, our substance use providers, our mental health providers, our community-based organizations, our folks with lived experience, right? We need to have seats at the table for everyone, right? And so this is really, we're excited, to be perfectly honest. I'm excited about this project. It speaks to a lot of the needs that we see ongoing in our community. You can visit us at AANHPI-ohana.org. Please follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Ohana Center of Excellence. And then, did I miss anything?
All of our socials, anything. If you old school, just call us. Send us a mail, whatever you want to do. Just figure out a way, because we want to hear from you. We want to share. It's all about sharing, and that's why I said I can't be more excited, because when knowledge and ideas come together, you know, this things like this happen.
Yeah, mahalo. I think we do want to also see if anyone wants to, again, hit our Menti meter. There's also a section in there that you can provide suggestions, concerns, comments, and we'll take a look at that and get back to you within the next few weeks. We do want to open up some space for questions.
And I know there's a lot of chats. I see like 3-digit chats. So, Pa'i mahalo tuna pua for moderating the chat and the link right now. And we want to try and get to your questions and your concerns. And even if you have things to say, we'll try and get to that. If not, we eventually will. So we're excited because, I mean, so much people have been on sharing and getting involved. You know, Washington, D.C., California, Northern California, everybody across the Pai'aina in Hawaii, and our Pacific Islander, all the way down to the South Pacific. So many people have been on, and we want to mahalo you guys. And before we forget, we got to mahalo Vai Collective, Nu'uana, for giving us a space to share. We got to thank OEV TV for allowing us to get this out to the rest of the world. We like to thank San Jose State University,
San Jose State, Cal State, East Bay,
SAMHSA. All of you, and they're still there.
Yay.
Aloha,
Aloha.
friends. They're still there. We like to thank you guys so much for being that arm. And I always use this analogy. I always think, what is the smartest animal on earth? I think is the he'e, right? And the arms are stretching out all the way to San Jose, all the way to East Bay, and all the way to Washington, D.C. So this is here. I love that. So
the ocean that connects us.
So.
Oh, also mahalo Department of Health, Hawaii State Department of Health, Adult Mental Health Division. And actually, on that note, maybe you folks could come join us so we can answer some more questions.
So do me a favor, you guys. We're
San
gonna
Jose State and TSU East Bay as well.
We're gonna bring them back in from the Department of Health. Our good friend John, the favorite light cheap man, Atalina, Tali. We're gonna bring them back. This is the Hawaii team. I believe on your left, California team on the right, all together. I mean, This is an amazing group of people. We got to thank all of our guest speakers who shared. If you missed yesterday, we will have this up later, right? This is all being recorded.
Yes, it's all being recorded. We will have it on our website.
So if you missed our speakers yesterday, you can eventually go back to the website and get those. So we got to mahalo all of our guest speakers for sharing with us these last 2 days. Now that we're all back here, there's a question that came in, and let me just read off the chat. It says, in 2022 to 2023, 988, this is from the 24-hour suicide and crisis lifeline, is failing the community. Are there any initiatives or priority from the Center of Excellence to declaring a state of emergency for the BIPOC of people? I can't even read it. There you go. In the U.S., there have been a 228% increase in involuntary civil commitments since 988 rollout. That means the public is only receiving clinical, medical, necessary treatment that is in essence psychiatric oppression of our communities. Did you guys get that? So I'm not sure if it was a statement, a question, but right. There was a little bit of are there any initiatives or priorities of the Center of Excellence to look at?
I think that's why we want to collect in language and culturally appropriate resources, because what we have found in Pacific Islander communities, as well as Native Hawaiian, and I'm sure this is true for Asian American communities, is that if we're not speaking to them in a language that they understand, or we're not culturally appropriate in our engagement, then that's an issue. Because like recently we were talking about Pacific Islanders who unfortunately have chosen to take their own lives, and how, you know, oftentimes what's said is, but they were so happy, we didn't see it, and, you know, we didn't know. Well, why don't we know? And that's because we don't have these conversations. We don't talk about, how are you doing? Is it hard being a new mom and being at home? Or if this is your 5th kid, what's happening? If you're part of the LGBTQ plus community and you're struggling with that identity, how does that play out into what you're thinking and the value that you've assigned yourself, right? Because that's what matters. Or if you're disconnected from your land, or if you're not speaking your language and you've been raised on the continent and you feel this imposter syndrome, you know, how does all of that translate into who we are and the value that we put on our lives? And that's what we want to offer them, our resources that say, we get it. No matter where you are, we get it, and we're here for you. And yes, the system is failing us. That's because the system wasn't built for us. So how do we build a system for us, by us? That's by putting us at the table and ensuring that those resources that are being collected are put together by the community, for the community.
I like that. Mahalo for that. Hopefully, go ahead, I see you, Kathy. Hold on real quick. All right.
So I would like to, so the question was asked, you know, whether our Center of Excellence would, you know, be able to act on this. And I do think that we are positioned in a place to really look at amplifying, as well as, I think, providing resources for those services that are supposed to be serving our communities. And so a lot of times services might be language relevant, so they may have maybe some interpretive services, but they aren't necessarily culturally relevant, or it's not readily available for the caller that's online, or whatever, however people are contacting, whether it's through text apps or whatever it is. And so I do think that that is one of our responsibilities as someone that is federally funded, to really look at a lot of these community publicly funded services to make sure that we're part of that conversation, or that we have partners who are part of that conversation, to really look at the efficacy of those in terms of culturally and linguistically appropriate services that don't necessarily maybe sometimes even escalate, or may not be able to provide the trust and relationship that people can confidently use those services.
Thank you for that. You want to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. And so as a representative from the state of Hawaii's Department of Health, I do know that the 988 rollout is actually individualized in each state as far as they have complete control over that, as far as how they are rolling that out. I know in Hawaii, we do have initiatives in which we are trying to reach all of our populations, and we're trying to advertise in the spaces and where they would be looking for resources and supports. So I would definitely say, I mean, if you're interested, I would join a regional steering committee, and I would put that out there, because we certainly can advocate at the Department of Health level in these various states as far as to make sure your concerns are addressed and heard. That's all.
Mahalo for that. Hopefully we got that to you, who answered that question. And thank you for that question as well. Here's another question that just came in. Can attendees get a copy of the slides that all of you presented?
Yeah, I think we can make those available via our website as well. So that means you're going to have to check out our website.
The website, there it is, right on the screen, AANHPI-ohana.org. Get on to all of our socials. Do we still have the Menti QR code right there on the screen as well? Continue, not just today. Continue, my friends, tomorrow, next week, next year. Continue to get involved. We're asking for your engagement to come together with the Center of Excellence. So continue, not just after this, but we're going to keep in touch with each other. We'll try and get in touch with everyone that was on. If we miss you, we will get to you, your questions. So you can always head back to the website. We're eventually going to get this up if you missed the last 2 days. Tell your friends what we did for the last 2 days, and tell them about all these people, all the things that we're doing. We don't want you to stop. You know, one of the things for Native Hawaiians, if I can share, is kilo. Our kilo skills, our observation skills are very, very important. So whether you work in the field of medicine, the field of behavioral therapy, even just your aunties, uncles, cousins, whoever they may be, kilo, observe your family, observe individuals. You know, Department of Health, I got to think that they put out a pamphlet a while ago about the different concepts and the different kauma'a, or the different mental illnesses that Hawaiians suffer, because, you know, everything from, it's different from when your shoulders are rolled forward, that sadness, to it's different from the sadness of breaking up in a relationship. So we have to kilo and understand those things, because like Telly was saying earlier, you know, a lot of times we're just like, oh, but he was so happy. But if you kilo and you observe these people, that's very important, whether you're in this field of behavioral therapy or not. Any more questions coming through? Continue to do that. And again, we got to mahalo all of our sponsors and everybody who made this possible. And I can't applaud them enough. So do me a favor, a round of applause, Pa'i Lima, for our California team all the way out, San Jose State University, East Bay, and of course right here to my left, our Hawaii team. You guys, I'm excited to see the future of what you guys are doing, and I can't wait till we have another one of these, and there's multiple screens, California, Hawaii, the East Coast, you know, the Pacific Islands, everyone on here. I mean, come on now, our micronations, because there's 6,000 atolls and islands. Can you imagine all of them on? I'm so excited for this.
Mahalo. Kathy Fox, do you want to say anything in closing?
Oh, go ahead. No.
Wanted answered in terms of tokenizing, right? And so the key aspect of tokenizing, right, is doing an action and doing it empty, so that way the action will count for something, right? And so rather than really helping a community, you say that you support a community, and it becomes really performative, right? So it's not true allyship for a community. I think the only thought that I wanted to leave you all with, and it's a little selfish because that's what I'm most invested in, is when we're thinking about mental health and we're thinking about communities to help, we're often talking about adults and our elders, right, or kupuna. I also want to turn attention to our keiki, to our youth, right? And so for me, my personal investment will be to make sure that voices of young children especially, who are also susceptible to trauma like adults are, that they also get someone to champion for them as well. And so that's one of the things I want to make sure that voice is also going to be included in this project.
Mahalo for that, our team out in California. Thank you guys. What are we, a 3-hour difference? Thank you guys for hanging out with us. I know you guys got a lot of responsibility and so much work to do, but we appreciate you folks all the way across the Pacific. Would anybody like to add anything before the work starts now?
Absolutely. Yep. Please reach out to us. We're here to talk. We want to hear from you. Yes, please reach out. With that, we can.
Is there any way we can get Oli Mahalo on the screen? So is that even, I'm just throwing out to the technical people, like if we just Google Oli, no, she's like, no, Mahani, you should just know it. So if we can, as we close, if we can, like we did, whenever we get together for I like to call these celebrations and festivities and sharing, we started connecting, being of the same breath, and we continue to do that. And so as we slowly close today, I would like all of you to take 3 deep breaths one more time. And these 3 deep breaths, this time, the first breath, I want you to think about ho'omaikai, what you're thankful for. Everything you're thankful for, good and bad, what brought you to this point. Your second breath, mihi, to forgive yourself, to forgive others around you. The most difficult thing to do is to forgive ourselves, so do that first. Your third breath, I want you to think about ho'oulu, or inspiration. Why are you doing this work? Why do you want to do this work? What is your kuleana? What is your purpose? And how are you going to use this and your knowledge in Ike to inspire those that need? So as you are, you can either stand or sit up nice and tall. We say hanu, hold, ho'omaikai, everything you're thankful for, be it good, be it bad. Ha, hanu, hold, mihi, forgive yourself, forgive those around you. And ha, hanu, hold, ho'olu, to inspire, inspiration, to grow. Why are we here? Ha. With that said, I'd like to share and close with an oli. Kamakalohala, uaike alohala, kugahihia kahalohala, avehe maina lehua, maika ho'ohuhia kahalavaila, mahalo e na kua. Mahalo e na kapuna ea, mahalo me ke alohala, mahalo me ke alohala. Mahalo, mahalo, mahalo. Thank you very much for honoring us with your presence, and aloha. May love always be your guide. From the Center of Excellence, my friends, mahalo and aloha.